So welcome everyone. In today's video, I'll be making this little chisel plane. Alright, so I'm starting with a big old chunk of aluminum. I went ahead and sketched out a design and just kind of making it more permanent with some marker there just so I can see my lines a little bit easier. And I've based the shape on some carriage maker planes that I had seen that I liked. And now I just have this task of removing all of the excess. This certainly would be a job for like a CNC of some kind, or a laser, or casting. But we're going to work with what we have, and I have this aluminum, and it's just taking up shop space in the shop, so figured, hey, we can turn it into a hand plane. And all of this work was basically just done at the Portaband. Was there a 1/2-inch blade, I think, on that? A little hard to get into some of the curves, so basically I just did this stair-step method, and that got me, overall pretty close. So now I need to establish some reference surfaces so I can drill and tap for the blade. And so I'm gonna go ahead and just mill the bottom off. I just eyeballed what looked, parallel basically to establish the first plane, if you will. And so I went ahead and got all that milled down. And then I can go ahead and flip it over, use that bottom now as my reference surface. And I can just quickly mill the top part off. All of that's going to get cut away eventually, but I need to make sure that I had a flat surface for this next step. I have my blade here. This is a 1-inch blade I had made for another project. I went ahead and made a bunch of them because I wasn't sure when I was going to need them. And so now I need to refine that blade. I'm just going to go ahead and get it the back pretty flat, and you can kind of see where the hardness stops on it. And I went ahead and grabbed my hardness files so I could test. I just want to make sure where that is, where it's hard and where it's soft, because that'll make drilling for my holes a lot easier. And so went ahead and got that laid out, and I had to redo my layout because I laid out on the wrong side. But now it's back in the mill, and I'm going to use the mill to get the holes started and marked, and then I'm going to move over to the drill press to drill them the rest of the way through. One of those was real close to where where the blade was actually hard, and I figured if I accidentally got into a little bit harder material, it'd be easier to muscle through it with the drill press over that mini mill. But overall, this went just fine. And now I have it double-sided taped to the bottom of the plane, and I'm just using that essentially as a guide for my drill bit, just so I can make sure that I've got those holes in the exact right spot. And now it's time to tap everything. So I went in, with a tap, and then I came back later with a bottom tap just to finish off those threads right there at the end. And now back over the blade with a countersink bit. And I use like a 632 screws, I believe, for this. And there's the basic idea. Now it's pretty much done. It's usable. It's ugly and uncomfortable, so we're gonna go ahead and fix all that. So back over to the bandsaw just to get rid of that top section that I didn't need anymore, and then the files to get into the nooks and crannies. And then after I get it all, the the hard parts filed, I'm going to take it over to the grinder. And then, just spending a lot of time here at the grinder, burning through belts, getting it clogged with aluminum. And I went ahead and blued everything up again, and this just helps me see where I still need to grind. And I just, would blue it up, grind on it. Once all the blue was gone, I'd change the belt, go up to a finer grit, and just keep working it that way. And now I put a couple layout lines on there, and I'm just trying to round the handle over, basically make it a little more comfortable. And there's a lot of back and forth with this until I got it pretty right, pretty good. And now this is a Scotch-Brite belt, and I'm just putting the kind of like final finish on it, or so I thought. I wasn't quite liking the way this was looking. And so after spending some time on the Scotch-Brite belt, I went back to the drill press. You can kind of see what I'm working with there. So I'm back at the drill press with a wire wheel, and I'm just going to wire wheel the crap out of it. And this is a little too aggressive for the aluminum, and so it was kind of taking little bits of the aluminum and removing them. So you're getting some scratches, but then you're also getting some pock marks in it. Basically, just kind of gave it a sandcast look, and I just like the appearance a lot better. And then now it's time for a stamp and sharpen the blade so I can get ready to actually use it, and then do some final assembly work on it. We can give it a test. So admittedly, this is a rather niche tool. Basically, you would use it in situations where you need a chisel, but the handle of that chisel might actually get in the way. It's great for paring operations or when you're trying to work like into a corner. But overall, it's a fun little tool to use. And I think I'm going to go ahead and make this one available for sale. I'm going to put it up on my website. Links are in the description. If you want to check that out, I would appreciate it. And so anyway, thanks for following along, and I'll catch you on the next one.